Welcome back to another Motel Coach training video. Today, we're going to be diving into GuestPoint PMS, and I'm going to show you how to write notes like a pro. When I talk about notes, we're talking booking notes, housekeeping notes, internal and guest profile notes. Let's jump in. While I've got your attention, and if you're finding our GuestPoint training videos helpful, subscribe below. Guest notes are input based on the requests that guests make. It might be a regular guest's requirement for a downstairs room, or it might be a guest leaving a note on booking.com because they have a sensitive allergy and don't want any chemical smells in their room. We're going to go through 5 examples today, and to make it realistic, we're going to listen to 5 voicemail recordings, and then we're going to input the guest notes into GuestPoint, just to see how it works in a real-world situation.
Hi there, this is Sarah Bennett calling. I'd like to book a room for this Friday and Saturday night, just for myself. If possible, could you please make sure the room doesn't have any air fresheners or strong scents? I've got asthma, so anything heavily fragranced tends to set it off. My number is 04-215 55849 and my email's sarah.bennett@example.com. Thanks very much. I'll look forward to your confirmation.
So we're going to now add guest notes after Sarah Bennett has called up. So if we jump into Sarah Bennett's booking, going to make sure it's on the right date first. So we've got Friday and Saturday night. Whenever you receive a voicemail or a phone call to add a guest note, it's also a time to double check that the reservation details are correct. So we've fixed that one up now. So it's checking in on the Friday and it will be checking out on the Sunday. So it'll be a 2-night stay. So the guest has requested not to use any air fresheners or strong scents because of an asthma allergy. So we now want to action a few things. The first thing is we want to put a note in the housekeeping section. When I have a guest that explicitly says they have asthma that can be set off, I'll generally take that chance to be a bit more thorough with the room cleaning. So I'll write a note such as, guest suffers asthma, extra clean, ensure under the bed is vacuumed. We don't want any feather pillows, mattress toppers, or doonas. This note gives the housekeepers the context and a few items for them to make sure they follow. The next thing we want to do is we want to ensure that Mrs. Bennett is not allocated a room that has been pet friendly. The next item on our list is we're going to put in a guest profile note. This one can be a bit shorter and it would just be guest suffers from asthma. I would put this on the handover notes if you've got multiple staff working at your motel on the reception, or if you're intending on dropping out and will have staff covering for you. When a guest has a medical condition, it's always good for the staff to be aware of it. When you get critical requests from guests, like an asthma allergy or mobility issues, you need to make sure your requests get actioned with the relevant department. So you need to highlight your notes around the cleaning requests for the housekeeping team, and you need to hand over with them when they arrive on shift. You then need to follow up with them once they've cleaned that room. There's no second chances when it comes to setting off an asthma sufferer. So those are the key notes we're going to put down for Mrs. Bennett. We're now going to go on to our next voicemail and we'll put in some more notes.
Hi, this is Mark Douglas. I'm just calling to make a booking for this Friday night for 2 adults and 1 child. If possible, could we please have a rollaway bed added for our little one? You can reach me on 0409673120, and my email's mark.douglas88@example.com. Thanks so much. Please confirm when you can.
We've received a voicemail from Mark Douglas. We're going to check his booking details are correct to get started. So for this one, we're checking the date. Yep, confirming that it's for this Friday for one night. And we've got 2 adults and 1 child. So that is also correct. And we'd also just quickly check that his email and mobile number are correct. So let's go into his notes. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put a note in for the housekeepers. So we're going to put rollaway bed required. As the motel manager, you need to be accountable for your rollaway beds and to ensure that you always have the number that you are indicating. So if you have a guest request a rollaway bed, if you don't have one available, you need to really promptly communicate that with the guest or find an alternative solution, which might be a larger room. When you're looking at putting guests in rooms with rollaways, if you've got availability in a bit bigger room, I would often look at that as an option. You've got to remember that a rollaway bed is additional time for housekeepers to do, and the linen cost will often be very similar to just having another bed in the room in a larger room anyway. And the last note with the rollaway bed is, rollaway beds are often not necessarily suitable for adults. So it's generally going to be fine if it's just a child, but if you're purely looking at your guest experience, is a guest going to have a better experience in a full-size bed that's permanently set up versus a rollaway bed? The answer's generally going to be they're going to have a better experience with a big bed. So I would always look at it as an option. You don't need to bring out a rollaway bed if a guest requests it, just because that's the room that they're in. With the rollaway bed, I would again be highlighting that on your housekeeping room list and communicating it with them on arrival. And I would have that room as one of the rooms that you check for cleanliness at the end of the housekeeper day. What you don't want is for guests to arrive and rooms not to be made up. It's always more work for a motel manager to be cleaning or doing extra tasks like making a rollaway bed up after all the housekeepers have gone home and you're in the middle of check-ins. So that's everything for that housekeeping note. We're going to save that one down. That's everything we're going to do with the guest notes for that booking. Let's move on to the next example.
Hi, it's Linda Robertson here. I'm looking to book a room for 2 of my colleagues who will be staying this Wednesday night. They'll need 2 single beds, separate beds please, not a queen, as they're travelling for work. You can confirm the booking by calling 0413784932 or emailing me at linda.robertson@example.com. Thanks so much. I'll wait to hear back from you.
So let's jump into Linda's booking and do as we've done before. We want to confirm the details. So we've got the 29th, so that's the Wednesday. Straight away we can see we've got them booked into a queen room. Because the guest has requested 2 single beds, straight away we're looking to move them into a twin room or a queen twin room. Depending on your occupancy, again, look at what's going to be best for these guests. If they have a good stay, they're likely to tell Linda that our stay was great. We'd like to stay here every time we're in town. So if you've got a good room which has 2 separate rooms and a bed in each, consider putting them in there to make sure that you communicate all of these things with the guest as well. So we want to let them know we've given you a complimentary upgrade into our executive twin room this time because it's got 2 bigger beds. Each time you stay, we'll try and put you in this room because it is a lot more comfortable for you, but we can't always guarantee it. So for this one, let's put them in a queen twin room. We know it's 2 adults, so they're going to be fully grown. We want to put them in the biggest bed possible. We're going to allocate room 17. Again, because it's a request for 2 separate beds, I would even be marking it as do not move. I would put 2 beds required, and I would put it in the notes. Two guests traveling for work, do not move. Here's the next point I would come across with this reservation is that the booking contact and her mobile number is in the reservation. Whenever we get a reservation getting booked by someone that's not staying, I would always urge you to follow up with that person and ensure that you get the guest names and their mobile numbers as well. Inevitably, you'll reach times when you've got a guest on arrival, you don't have their mobile number, the person that's made their reservation is working 9 till 5 and you can't get a hold of them. It gets later at night and they don't show up. And you could have resold the room. Your motel's at 100% occupancy, but you just can't guarantee that they won't show up. So you don't resell the room and you lose that revenue. If you had the guest's mobile number, you've got a chance that you might be able to get a hold of them and you might be able to confirm what's going on. So if we were to fix this reservation up, so Linda Robertson would become the booking contact. So we can add booking contact. And we would then clear the primary guest. We would put in the first guest name, and then we can click new person as well, and we can create a second person on that booking so that you've got both people attached to the booking. When you attach both people to the booking as well, if they consume alcohol or a breakfast or a meal in your restaurant, you can charge it to the person within the room account. So let's just do a quick mock example. So we've got Tim Smith in the room, and we're going to leave the second booking as Linda Robertson. And again, so we've got Tim Smith and Linda Robertson in the room. So let's put one charge on Tim Smith's room. And Linda Robertson has dinner as well. So you can see here that it just means that we can allocate who's consumed something if they are paying for it separately. If all charges are going to the main room account, it's not going to matter so much. So you can see there's a few moving parts with these reservations. That's all of the notes we're going to put on this booking. Let's move on to the next reservation.
Hi, this is Peter Lawson. I'd like to book a king room for 2 nights next week, checking in on Tuesday. I'm a light sleeper, so could you please give me a room that's away from the highway or any traffic noise? Somewhere quiet would be ideal. My number's 0432888447 and email is peter.lawson@example.com. Thanks very much for your help.
So let's jump onto Peter's booking. So he's looking for a king room and 2 nights, checking in on Tuesday next week. And Mr. Lawson wants a quiet room. He doesn't want to hear much traffic noise. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the motel map to ensure we've got him in a room at the back of the property. Once you've worked at a motel for a while, you'll know exactly which rooms are at the back. And I can see room 6 is near the back. If you're in a circumstance where the room type he has booked isn't available at the back, look to see if you can shuffle any other guests first. If you've only got rooms near the front of the motel in the king suite type, I would consider communicating with the guest and just letting them know that we've only got this room type currently available at the back. So you might have to say, unfortunately, this stay, you're going to have to stay in a queen suite if you want to stay at the back of the property. So we're then going to mark that one as do not move. And we want to put, now we've marked him as do not move. We also need to explain to anyone who's on reception why he's been marked do not move. So we're going to put an internal booking note. The benefit of doing this is if all of a sudden that room goes out of service or a guest that is a VIP needs that room, you can shuffle this guest to another room that still meets his requirements. And then the next task we're going to do is we're going to put it in the guest profile notes as well. If this guest, Mr. Lawson, stays again, we want to put him in the room he likes. We want to have him at the back of the property by default without him needing to ask us each time. I always like to be a little bit careful around notes. You don't want to make them too restrictive on your motel because you're not always going to be able to give the guest what they want. If you say room 6 is the room Mr. Lawson likes and we always put him in room 6, he'll start to expect room 6. So when you don't provide it, he's then like, oh, you didn't give me the room I like. Whereas if you just generally have him at the back of the property, it means that he doesn't get used to a specific room and you can always then fulfill his requirements for the stay. That's the only requirement for profile notes for Mr. Lawson. Let's move on to the next reservation.
Hello, this is Emily Zhang calling. I'd love to book one of your upstairs balcony rooms again. I stayed last year and had a great view from the top floor. I'm planning to come next weekend, checking in on Saturday for 1 night. Could you please confirm availability and hold that same type of room for me? My number is 0460522319 and my email is emily.jang@example.com. Thanks so much. Talk soon.
So let's jump into Emily Zhang's booking. So we've got the 15th and 16th, which is the following Saturday. We've got her for 1 night, and we've got her allocated into the upstairs balcony room as per her last stay. So we can put Emily likes upstairs balcony room Her last room was 25. So once we've got the room as 25, we can mark it as do not move. And I'd be copying this guest profile note to the internal booking notes as well. And just put do not move. Going back to the comments from the last video, putting the internal booking notes means that if you need to take this room back for another guest, or maybe a really long stay reservation comes in and this is the only room that would work for them, it means that you can shuffle Emily to another room that meets her requirements. So her stay will still be great, even though you weren't able to hold this room for her. We're going to save that one down, and that's all finished. Thank you very much for watching. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to subscribe. If you're looking to get into motel management or level up your skills, check out the links in the description for motel management and GuestPoint training.